Eating Soup Alone is a podcast hosted by me, Christopher Crumley, and co-hosted by Nicholas Johnson. We try our best to ramble incoherently about a handful of movies at least once a week. It's Christmas time once again.
I'll ring a ding ding.
Yeah, this is our second one, third one? How many have we done, huh?
I knew we did Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
And then Jingle All the Way.
Okay.
Now It's a Wonderful Life.
Wow.
Time flies, right?
Time definitely does fly, you know? So yeah, It's a Wonderful Life. You've seen this before when you were a child?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Long time ago.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, Merry Christmas.
To you, Nick.
Oh, thank you.
Don't have a gift. I'm sorry.
Neither do I. That's
Okay,
totally fine.
Perfect, yeah. Gift for a friend, nice thing, not required, right?
I wouldn't say so. No.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp. So hopefully you don't think I love you any less.
No, not at all.
But It's a Wonderful Life. I have never seen it either. Ain't never seen No, It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, I have vague memories of watching it at my grandmother's house on Christmas Eve a couple years. So we do Christmas Eve at Graham's house, and every year, and ever since I was a kid, I remember it just vaguely being on Turner Classic Movies or something like that. Or, oh no, what was it? I know TBS plays A Christmas Story 24 hours, but I think another one used to do It's a Wonderful Life for 24 hours straight.
AMC maybe?
Could be.
I don't know. TNT.
Could be TNT.
ABC.
CBS.
Yeah.
USA, Characters Welcome.
Sure.
Any of those.
Any of these, yeah. Could be any of them.
But I didn't have real concrete memories of it.
Sure.
And so it was basically like watching it again for the first time.
Yeah.
Chris, what'd you think of this movie?
I'm going to say it. I'm going to beat you to the punch. It's a wonderful film.
It is. It really is.
Yeah, I was genuinely surprised. It feels like one part an episode of The Twilight Zone and then one part Citizen Kane. Have you seen Citizen Kane?
No.
We'll do that. We'll do that sometime.
Okay.
Yeah. I know you probably feel a little pretentious about it to begin with. Right? Like you've got your walls up a little bit. You're like, yeah, it's Citizen Kane. But I got to say it's actually a good movie.
The big dilemma with it for me is I have my walls up and I'm like, okay, I get it. It's the best movie in the world. Yeah. But then anytime someone asks me, "Have you seen Citizen Kane?" I'm so embarrassed to go, "No, I've never seen Citizen Kane."
Yeah, I would just say lower your expectations or whatever, because there is that big high. But I would say that I watched it while Wolf of Wall Street was kind of fresh on my mind, that era, whatever year that was. Mm-hmm. And I was like, for the 1940s, this is basically Wolf of Wall Street. I was like, this is,
I saw the other day something about him.
Orson Welles.
Orson Welles. I wanted to say George Orwell so bad. I'm like, that's not his name.
Because then there's H.G. Wells did the War of the Worlds, the book, but then then Orson Welles, the guy, did the radio play, right?
Did he?
Didn't he read the radio play?
Yeah, that sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, and then people killed themselves or something.
Yeah. Oh.
You were telling a story, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. There's that part with the parrot or the cockatoo in Citizen Kane.
Okay, don't remember it offhand. Not fresh enough on my mind, but okay.
Just a scene is almost coming to a close, and then it just flashes a parrot, and it goes real quick, and then it goes into the next scene, and it's considered one of the first ever jump scares.
Nice.
And I saw a thing about it, and people going on theorizing what it means and why it is where it is in the movie and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then cut straight to Orson Welles. Did you see how fast I forgot it again? Orson Welles as an old fat man. Can
I guess what he said?
Dick Cavett goes, "So what's the meaning behind the parrot?"
I'm assuming he probably said I was fucking 21 and I thought it'd be funny or something.
Kind of, basically. Yeah. He goes, "It was to wake the audience up." Yeah. He goes, "That's the entire meaning of it. It was to keep the audience awake." Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to do the anti-intellectual thing. That's not what I'm trying to do. But it is funny how often, like, I feel like people are like, oh, I wonder what. Yeah, like, that's a perfect example. Is like the bird squawking, and it's like you can't read into that. You cannot read into the bird squawking. Now, I'm not trying to say that you can't ever read into anything. There are deliberate choices made every single day that are worth dissecting. But it's always funny when like something like that is like dissected to me, because it's like, you can't read into the bird squawking. There's no subtext there.
Yeah, no, it's the cool thing about art is that like whatever you think that bird means is what that bird means.
Yeah.
But also, I love whenever there's a very deep analysis or whatever of something like that in the movie, and they bring it to the director, someone like that, or John Carpenter. They're like, well, that's cool.
Yeah. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a Talladega Nights when Ricky Bobby's talking to his dad, and he's like, you know, when I was a kid, he told me if you ain't your first, you're last. And he's like, oh, Ricky, I was high when I said that. You could be second, third, fourth, fifth, last. You know,
that's so good.
Yeah. So funny. But anyways, we watched It's a Wonderful Life, and
I was legitimately surprised you hadn't seen this, because this seems like such a Chris Crumley movie, and I like to say I nailed it.
Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah.
Sick. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Table talk. We're doing it a little different, I guess. Beforehand, can we talk about like what we're gonna do with our first episode back in the new year, in the year of our Lord 2024?
Sure, we can do that.
I think I'm gonna go see The Iron Claw. So I think that's one of the movies. You're welcome to come if you'd like. I think it's like next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday? Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. Depends. I'm planning to see it with maybe Sarah and Armand. If they want to go earlier in the day, it might not work out. But if they're going in the evening, then definitely would like to have you along. But, I'm thinking, why not? You know, just came out. I like wrestling. You know, if you'd like, you could watch.
Oh, I'm so stoked about it. Yeah,
the Dark Side of the Ring episode to refresh.
Absolutely. I wrote down the Iron...
Me and Emily did that yesterday.
Very cool. I wrote down the Iron Claw because I was gotta look up what that is. And now I immediately remember what it is, and I'm very excited for that movie. Yeah.
Do you got any kind of a companion piece? Maybe we could do. I know I'm basically picking both movies if this is the case, but it's something that Will Lorenz, friend of the show, has wanted to watch for a long time, and we could maybe do a big thing. All three of us. He's not going to be on it though, because he's a little self-conscious. That's okay. Not shaming him, but he's wanted to watch The Wrestler for a long time. So
that wouldn't be bad.
We could just do the 2-for-1 with the wrestling. A tag team, if you will.
Ooh, well, I can't pass that up. I was gonna say,
but you could also make your suggestion.
I was going to suggest. Let me see. Make sure I'm not making an idiot of myself.
We could watch the Iron Man and the Iron Claw. We already done the Iron Giant, so I can't do that one.
So. What about Poor Things with it? A movie also in theaters.
Don't know what that is, but sure.
It is Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo and Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yeah. Emma Stone's directorial debut, correct?
No, it's directed by Yorgos Lanthimos.
What the fuck? What does she do for it?
She actor.
That's it?
Yeah, she act.
Oh, I thought it was something else. My bad. Well, egg on my face. And also, I'm a man who dropped 2 eggs earlier when he was trying to make some scrambled eggs. Pretty funny.
Isn't dropping an egg the worst?
Yeah, you know what's even funnier is one of them I dropped because I was cracking it on the side of a bowl. And instead of falling into the bowl, it just slooped out the other side.
That's so funny.
Outside of the bowl, you know.
Dropping like a full egg is like...
Yeah.
Dropping a full egg
It's like vaudevillian.
It is. Because it's so satisfying and it's so funny. And you're immediately like, fuck, I got to clean up an egg now.
Yeah, every time it happens, I just Charlie Chaplin walk into the, you know.
It evens itself out because you're not happy and you're not mad about the egg dropping because you were so happy and so mad about it.
But anyways, so we watched It's a Wonderful Life. I gotta say, first thing that struck me is the Twilight Zone-y part of it, the part where it's just fucking strange. It starts with angels having a conversation, but before that, even it's just kind of lofting through the cosmos. And you just hear all these voices. We'll get to know the voices later because it's like children and a wife and yada, yada, yada. But it's just like, oh, please, George is having such a rough night tonight. Please save George. And then they depict angels kind of, I guess, non-traditionally in a sense. They're just like clusters. It's almost like the way that, it's literally the way that like Futurama portrays that one like god in the, out in the cosmos or whatever. Yeah. So they just have this chat about like, oh, hey, there's this fella named George. He really needs some help. Let's get Bernice or whatever, Clarence or whatever. What's his name?
Ooh, buddy.
Is it Clarence? Let's just go Clarence.
Clarence.
We'll say Clarence for now. You can correct me in a minute. let's get Clarence on the case. And he's like kind of like an old, like, oh, will I finally get my wings? He's not an old-timey prospector, but you know what I mean. And then they're like, well, let's get you up to speed on this George fella. And then from here, the movie just, it's, literally, it's just that slice of life shit,
Oh, yeah.
It's just right off the rip. He's like, when he's 7, he is fucking riding shovels down a thing, and you were going to say I interrupted you. Go ahead. My bad. I talked over you a little bit.
I was going to say, not a slice of life, but just a whole ass life.
Yeah, it's a whole pie, you're right.
Wasn't good enough to go back to. I apologize. Go on.
No, it's okay. It's not just a slice, you're right. It's a whole pie. But no, they're sliding down a little, hill onto a frozen lake. George's brother falls into the lake. George saves him. And then just like all these little like details, like, oh, he got a cold and it fucked up his left ear for the rest of his life. He was deaf out of his left ear,
Yeah.
For what reason? Nothing. Just a portrait of a man.
Absolutely. It started and there's all the Star Angel talk.
And I was like, what the fuck?
And I was like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe I was wrong. I was like, because like I said, I hadn't seen it in a long time.
Yeah.
I talked a big game. Maybe Chris won't like this movie. And then, it cuts to him as a kid losing hearing in one ear because he was saving his brother from almost dying. I was like, never mind.
Yeah, I got to say, this thing rocks at like 2 hours and 10 minutes. And I got to say, at least in my opinion, in terms of the story they told, not much fat there. The only thing that I'd probably mess around with is just a dated thing. The whole thing where she's in the bush and he's like, I've got your clothes and you're in a bush. Now, a man just doesn't come across an opportunity like this every time. I got to think about how I'm going to play this. She's like, I'll scream. He's like, no one will hear you. And she's like, I'll call the police. He's like, yeah, they take my side. Whatever. It's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's other than that, though, I don't think there's like a lot of like, everything is like one of those things where it's like, they say like, oh, shit. I dropped my lucky quarter, and then 4 scenes later, someone's like, what's this quarter? And then someone's like, they get lucky, so whatever it is, so like it comes back, but
yeah, like what you're saying, it's not, none of it's fat,
but
that bit just doesn't age well, and also I was thinking while watching this, brings me back to something we talked about with The Wizard of Oz. Specifically the scene where they all get into a fight and there's that big smoke cloud. And it's like, oh, did that come from Bugs Bunny or did Bugs Bunny get that from this? I don't know. I wasn't there. But there are some slapsticky kind of bits in this here and there. Like, they feel like Jerry Lewis kind of shtick. And I'm like, that's so strange. That comes out of absolutely nowhere. And I was thinking about it and I'm like, oh, no, but that's basically the same thing as seeing a drama today, and then for us seeing Seth Rogen comes in and goes weed and then leaves. I'm like, oh, okay, that tracks. That tracks.
From here, next he's working at a apothecaries. Don't know what else to call it. Druggists. Yeah, druggists. That's what it is.
Oh yeah. I was how I'm always going on about the 50s being a nightmare.
Yeah,
and the 40s.
Yeah.
Gotta say, the 20s, also a nightmare.
Yeah.
Whenever I see these, like, I guess drug
I think
stores.
this is even earlier, because he's, like...
Yeah.
It's got to be the 10s, at least.
Yeah. Like, the drugstore.
Right.
Where, like...
100-year-old man just mixes powders?
Where a 100-year-old man mixes powders in the back because he's your pharmacist, but also there's a little boy running you ice cream, like, scooping ice cream for you in the front. And, like, when I think about a drugstore now, like a CVS or something, I'm like, it's like, okay, this is just a convenience store that also has a pharmacy.
Yeah.
But, like, the original name for, like, drugstore has to come from, something that's not this. And then you go back to 1910, and I'm like, it's basically the same thing, but there's a little boy with ice cream at the front.
Yeah. I will say also something, as I'm thinking about these, specifically these first 2 little vignettes, these, like, defining moments of George's life that'll shape him. They sound like something out of, like, a biography for Lincoln, or even just something that, like, your grandma would tell you about your dead grandpa. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just has this, like, I don't know, this, like, just this quality of it that's, like, it feels so... It almost feels like a fable or something. Like, there's a strong moral to walk. You know what I'm saying? Like, same thing. Yeah, so, basically what happens is the fucking druggist is drunk and being mean, which doesn't seem usual. George catches a little glimpse of a telegraph that basically says, like, hey, your kid died of influenza. He can tell the druggist is drunk because his son, died. He's watching the druggist fill a prescription and he notices, that's the skull and crossbones powder, don't you know? This is a little silly and corny. The way, the idea I like, but in execution it's a little too like stage play. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it
like it works. It's good from a storytelling standpoint, but the mechanics are fine. But like the fact that it's a 1940s film where you have to be like, skull and crossbones is the part that sucks.
He might as well have, like, the pharmacist bends over to do something, and then, like, you see a bottle on a top shelf knock over, and, like, one drop falls into the prescription, and then, like, a smoke cloud
in the shape of a skull.
Pops up, and Georgia notices it.
Yeah.
It's just as effective as that.
Yeah.
But I do love watching this old man pour poison into a bunch of pillows.
Yeah. So then he basically tries to run over and tell his dad, but his dad's too busy or something, getting yelled at by Daddy Warbucks or whatever the guy in the wheelchair's name is.
Mr. Potter, but I do
Mr.
like
Potter, yeah.
Daddy Warbucks better.
Daddy Warbucks is from Annie. It's the rich man that buys Annie.
Mm-hmm.
Never seen Annie, but I did see it to play.
Same.
Anyways, but yeah, Mr. Potter's giving his dad the what for. So then George is like, okay, plan B. I just don't deliver this prescription. But then later on, the old drunk man is like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You didn't deliver that fucking prescription. And he's smacking him in the ear, and he's bleeding from the ear, and he's like, Mr. Drunkest, that's my bad ear. What are you doing? You don't know what you're doing. You're drunk. And he's basically like, I saw it. I know your boy died. But because you're drunk and you're all sad and stuff, you fucked up and you put the poison in the pills and you were going to kill that lady, so I couldn't deliver it. I won't tell anybody. I promise. And they cry. And he's like, I'm so sorry. Thanks for saving me, little boy.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's
pretty good, yeah.
I also do love when he goes and sees his dad getting yelled at by Mr. Potter.
Yeah.
Daddy Warbucks. He goes, like, classic kid in an old movie thing. The kid's talking to everybody, but nobody is breaking their conversation to talk to the kid.
Yeah.
I forgot whatever Mr. Potter says to Mr. George, his dad. But he's like, oh, whoa. I don't talk to my fucking dad like that. Dad, you got this guy fucking talk to him like that? Like, I love how he's yelling at both of them while he's getting kicked out. And it just blows my mind to think about looking at my dad and going, are you going to let this fucking guy talk to you this way?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. From there, I think we flash forward to him being in high school, graduating, but it's funny because it's just one of those things where, like, like the Breaking Bad reunion that you've seen. What is it called?
El Camino.
Camino. Yeah, where you were like, they're just 11 years older, but they don't draw any attention to it. Same thing, like, this isn't Cary Grant, is it? What is it? It's
Jimmy Stewart?
Jimmy Stewart, yeah. It's Jimmy Stewart. And obviously he's almost like a 40-something-year-old man when he was cast, so he just has to, like, they just, like, probably have makeup on him.
They comb his hair down a little bit more and put a bow tie on him.
And try to pretend like he's a high schooler.
I don't think he's a high schooler. I think his brother is graduating high school.
Okay.
He's a couple years older.
But he's about to leave for college or something,
yes.
or his brother's leaving for college or something.
But
anyways,
still, way too young for 40-year-old.
Yeah. But basically, again, another seed that's planted, even in the druggist thing, is like, he's like, I've got a prescription to the National Geographic, and I'm going to go to Egypt, and I'm going to go to Thailand, and all that kind of stuff. Then he gets older, and some stuff happens, whatever. Basically, his dad is like, oh no, I died. And the whole board of directors is like, all right, well, two things could happen. Either, because he gives a rousing speech about how we got to protect the little guy from Daddy Warbucks. But basically, he's in a situation where it's like, either Daddy Warbucks takes over this loan company, just double loan. They just do two different loans. And that's a bad thing. Or, Mr. I just gave a rousing speech about how, like, shove your capitalist boot up your ass and then try to lick it, you fucka. Fuck, you fuck. I don't know, whatever. They're like, we want you to run Loan and Loan. And so he basically is like, okay, I've got all these dreams that are, like, traveling the world, but for the sake of, like, what this means to this whole town, I kind of have to give those up unless I want, it's almost like an irreconcilable guilt thing where, like, he knows all these people personally. This is a small town, right? He cares about all these people. And it's like, fuck, do I go off and do what I want to do and fuck over all these people? Or do I sacrifice my happiness thing to keep all these people happy? And he chooses that option. He chooses the bye-bye Panama and living on a boat thing.
Yeah.
Tough decision.
It is. But I think the like, it's not so tough because I think the the plan immediately is
his brother's
when
going to
brother
come
comes back in 4
in like
years.
2 or 3, 4 years, whatever. Yeah, he'll take over.
Also, he gives that big "fuck you, Daddy Warbucks" speech and then leave, and all those people on the board work there, right?
I don't think they work there. I think they're just investors.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, they go, okay, yeah, we'll keep the place open and not sell it to this dick, but you have to be in charge.
Right, because the only one left is the forgettable guy.
Yes, okay, yeah.
Who's got his, like, his ropes tied to his fingers and stuff, because he's super forgettable.
Right. That guy, we'll get to that guy blows. Go on.
That guy, is nothing but a burden, but he's your uncle, so you take care of him, I guess. So anyway, he does this for like 4 years, and I should mention that this is where the she's naked in a bush scene comes in, because he's like, him and his friends go to his brother's like graduation or whatever at the high school, and he meets this girl. She's in high school, but
isn't she the little girl from the drugstore?
Yeah.
Cool, cute.
Yeah, she's like 17 or 18, and he's like probably 20, 21 or something. And whatever, it's the 40s. Basically, though, so he gets the news about Dad dying. I just wanted to bring that back just to say that, like, they're touching base again, but they do not become an item. I think she's pretty mad about how the Bush thing shook down.
I would be, yeah.
Yeah. But she still loves him, because later on there's a scene where, like, he goes by her house for whatever reason. It's like one of those things where, like, I think his mom called ahead and said that he's going over there, but he didn't even tell his mom he was going over there, but whatever. And then they just, like, weirdly, like, breath fuck each other, inches away from each other, just like...
While on the phone with her boyfriend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they hang up on the phone and they kiss and stuff, and they're like, never leave my side. And then they're just married from there. But anyways, to go back, he spends 4 years working for Papa, or like a dead Papa. He's just following in Papa's boots, and just getting entrenched, in the thick of it, right? And already that's going to be tough for him to, like, kind of probably walk away from. But what makes it even harder is his brother comes back from college, and he's not only married, but his new wife has promised him a job. So, totally fucking over his brother. His brother just has to keep running loan and loan.
I love that it's like she says that. She's like, oh, well, he came with the job. And like, he's like, oh. And then his brother, before he can say anything, goes, hey, listen, don't worry. I'm not taking that fucking job. And it's like, oh, God. You immediately know. You're like, even though this is a movie, I know it's a movie, and that's for sure what's going to happen. But, like, oh, yeah, you can just feel it. It's like, oh, that's for sure what would happen. Yeah,
because it's very real, even in the sense that, like, that's exactly what the brother would say. Is he'd be like, no, I'm not going to take it, to, like, slowly ease him into the, I'm going to take it. But, that, it's actually, I wrote it down in the notes. It's one of the few notes I took about the movie. Is there's a couple, I don't know if it happens here, but there's a couple of shots where George will respond to something like that, and the camera will just kind of follow him as he, like, meanders through a crowd, and you'll just continue to hear the mundane conversation in a party.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was really neat, especially for the 40s, where it was like this very, like, this moment of, like, I guess, like, almost like interiority or something, where you just get to, like, be with that character and experience his emotions, but, like, time doesn't stop at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. So that happens, and like I said, then the marriage thing happens, and then they're supposed to go on honeymoon, and what should happen? But the government says, get your barrels ready, because we're taking your clothes. It's the stock market crash.
I'm so glad you were with me watching this, because if you hadn't gone, the stock market, I never would have put that together. Just for the rest of the movie, I would have been like, what is this weird, like, financial plot in the middle?
It's the 20s. What the fuck financial thing happened in the 20s? Okay, I'm good.
What is this? Is this one the Wolf
is this
of Wall
the big
Street?
one?
I don't get none of it.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically they're about to leave on their honeymoon. It reminds me of High Noon, which is another, like, 1950s great movie. It's just got a great pace because, like, 1 minute in the movie is 1 minute in real life. Long story short, it's the sheriff of, like, a Wild West town that's literally getting married, and then as they're, like, driving off in the just married thing, someone goes, oh my God, Black-Eyed Bill just got released from prison. He'll be coming in on the noon train. And he goes, Black-Eyed Bill, killed and raped a bunch of women and, like, hates me for putting him in prison for the rest of his life. And they're like, and he's coming here to either kill you or kill everybody in town. So he's like, sorry, wife, we can't leave right now. I've got an hour and a half to go try to get all of my friends together to shoot these guys before they kill everybody or whatever, that kind of a thing. And then it's just an hour and a half of an old sheriff man going around town being like, hey, Bill,
well, Black-Eyed Bill's coming into town. Would you be a gun with me? And he's like, Bill, I would, but, I got kids now. I can't just be a gun for you. And he's like, okay, cool. Hey, Jack, will you be a gun for me? He's like, I would, but I got this bum leg. Until eventually, at noon, he just has to, stand alone against Black-Eyed Bill and his posse.
Does he make it?
You'll have to watch it and find out. But anyways, the reason why I say that is because, this moment feels like they're like, all right, just married, bye. And then someone's like, the stock market crashed. And he's like, oh, wife, I'm so sorry. I got to go. Mm-hmm. So anyways, yeah. And so, there's this big scene where everybody's like, I hear Potter's giving 50 cents on the dollar to anything that, we can't pull out of the bank. And he's like, now, come on, fellas. You can't you can't just do this. You got to think just for a moment about what have you all been together. This is a community. I know you. I kissed your daughter. And I left your daughter in a bush. And now we're married. Don't think about it too much. There's that kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay, fine. We're not going to go over to Mr. Potter or whatever. But then at the end of it, he's got no money because he gave everybody, just a little bit of an advance to, hey, just take this money to tide you over. And then by the end of it, he's like, no, where's my wife? And it's probably one of the most wholesome things I've ever seen in an entire movie.
Yeah.
Way earlier, when the Bush thing happened, one of George's favorite thing to do is throw rocks at this old dilapidated house and make a wish. If he hits a window, that means it's going to come true. Mm-hmm. And she's like, yeah, don't do that because I like this house and I'd love to live in it one time. He's like, oh, you mean this dump? Anyways, they don't have any money for honeymoon anymore, obviously. He calls his wife, whatever. Someone calls on behalf of him and tells him that, your wife's waiting for you at this luxury suite. There's a limousine driver outside, and it's someone he knows, but pretending to be a limo driver, and drives him up to the dilapidated house, and it's raining.
It's the cop of the taxi driver, whose names are
Bert and Ernie.
Go on.
And, she's fixed it up with a dinner and a table and a bed to, consummate the marriage, whatever. And they've, taped, posters of, exotic places that he wants to travel to the windows and stuff. And I think the cops are outside singing or something. Whatever. It's very sweet. Very sweet.
I love it. Yeah, it's great.
Great.
But I've been thinking about it for probably a week.
Yeah.
How over do you think it would be for you if you are newly talking to a girl?
Yeah.
You're kind of on a date-ish.
Yeah.
You're flirting back and forth. You're walking her home. And then you go, hold on. We have to stop. I have to throw rocks at this old house. Okay.
Yeah.
Can we, can we hold on a second? It's like, oh, no, we both have to stop right now.
Yeah.
Gotta throw rocks at old house.
Yeah.
You know?
Quirky. It's definitely manic pixie dream girl behavior.
Of him.
And I gotta be honest, I don't know. It might get me. Can't tell.
I mean,
I'd have to see on the date, What's her vibe,
Oh, because
if she plays it off well, I don't know.
Okay, well, I think...
Yeah.
I don't want to be sexist here, but because I used to be a little boy, if I was with a girl and she went, do you want to throw rocks at this old house? I'd be like, oh, I would love... Yeah, we spend the rest of my life with you, for sure. But I think any woman who was with a grown man who went, hold on, gotta throw rocks at old house, would go, I've made a big mistake.
Should I try it with Emily? To see what happens?
Yeah, but you're already in
I'm already in there. I'm in the
relationship.
trenches.
Yeah,
I fair enough. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So from here, they do sex and have kids?
Tell her, hey, just, this is for exclusively a bit.
Yeah.
I gotta go on a date with somebody. And see what happens when I throw rocks.
Yeah, for science.
I think she'd
understand.
Okay, cool.
I think she'd understand. They fucking have kids, right? That's the main thing that happens. I think another thing that happens is Mr. Potter realizes that, the land that George has been slowly buying with the money that because that's the whole thing. When the stock market crashes, they're like, we want to take our money out. And he's like, that's not how this works. We take your money and we'll give it back to you eventually, but we invest it. And so he's been buying these properties or whatever. Now he's selling them to them. And someone comes to Daddy Warbucks and is like, yo, those properties are worth a fucking 17,000 times what he bought them for.
Love this guy.
Yeah.
This guy might be my favorite character in the movie.
He's so funny because he's like, I don't give a fucking shit about George. And then that guy's like, yeah, well, guess what? In a couple of years, I'll probably be working for George. So, see ya.
Yeah, he's like, hey, listen, I know I'm just your fucking stupid accountant. but this is a problem, and it's going to
Yeah.
be. I'm telling you. And he's like,
Yeah.
everybody goes, again, I know I'm just your accountant, but this
Yeah.
is a huge problem.
Yeah.
Hey, fuck you. That guy
Yeah.
fucking sucks. He goes, hey, he won't be saying that for long because I'll probably end up working for him.
Yeah.
That guy's so good. He's in the
Pretty
movie
good.
for 20 seconds, and he
pretty
steals
good.
the whole show for him.
Pretty good.
Ah.
And then a little while later, Mr. Warbucks is like, hey, take this cigar. How about $40,000 a year salary? And George is like, oh my God, I've got a kid on the way, and I make like $4,000 a year or whatever, which is basically like in today's dollars, the difference between making like $40,000 and like, $250,000 every year and stuff. So whatever. Yeah, and then he's a little tempted towards the dark side. He's coming like, $250,000 sounds pretty nice. This cigar tastes pretty good. This chair's pretty good. Hey, wait a minute. I'm talking to Daddy Warbucks. Shove that capitalist boot up your ass and try to lick it.
I do love this movie, though, about like an investment banker. Yeah, that's what he is.
Something like that.
Yeah, and he's the for the people socialists protagonist character of the show, or of the movie, and I don't know if this is just how things actually were in the 40s or if it's propaganda, but yeah, the big bad guy is like a ambiguously rich just Daddy Warbucks that doesn't exist in real life anymore, or I mean does, but not in this capacity where everyone's just like, oh, those really rich people. It's our hero's an investment banker, and he's for the people and hates the rich, is very strange to me.
Yeah. I will also say something that's very strange. I don't know if you're familiar in the incel culture, the idea of a proto-cell.
No.
Which are their early heroes who existed before the incel term. So people I think Beethoven supposedly wasn't really a big fuck man or something, and then
that teenage Native American ghost from the Ghost Story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But another one is Daniel Johnston or whatever, or another one is Anthony Perkins, the guy who played in Psycho, right? So
okay.
The thing about that though is, because I was looking at this wiki and he's listed as one of the proto-cells forever. Yeah, my dog was not celibate. He was just straight up gay.
Oh.
You know what I mean? I think in an interview he said that he didn't have sexual relationships with a woman until he was 39, and that's where the incel reputation comes from. But yeah, that's because he was fucking dudes, and he tried fucking a woman at 39 because he wanted to try to he was ashamed of being gay and wanted to give it
Gotta
straight.
see what all the fuss is about.
Yeah, exactly. It was I want to give straight a chance because it's 1960 whatever the fuck, and it's not cool to be gay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so it's just weird to me
he
that
wasn't celibate. He was actually fucking crazy.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so that's just a weird side note. From here, his brother goes off to war. He's a hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just keep having babies. I don't think anything too.
Yeah, I love that. The movie does a wonderful job of ratcheting up the here's another thing he has to worry about.
Yeah.
Here's another thing he has to worry about.
Yeah.
Here's another thing.
That's a great point.
And I love that. By the time Daddy Warbucks offers him the job, he's like, yeah, fuck, I got a kid on the way, and I owe all these people a lot of money now because of the stock crash. And then there's that flash forward, and he's like, I've got 9 kids.
Yeah, I will say, that's a great. Thanks for reminding me to explicitly state that, because sometimes I feel like I get so caught up in connecting the dots story-wise that I forget to make the overarching statement, which is that one of the things I love about this movie is that at every turn it does such a great job of capturing exactly why him giving up his dreams and getting deeper and deeper into someone else's life as far as he's concerned is kind of a forced hand, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said early on, it's oh shit, Dad died and Daddy Warbucks takes over. I'll just do it for a couple of years until Brother comes back. Brother comes back and he doesn't want to do it, and it's shit, well, I've been doing it for 4 years. Who else is going to do it? I kind of just can't just say, what am I going to say? I'm going to go to the town and be like, hey, listen, I was supposed to do it until my brother came back, but my brother came back and he actually got a job, so we're just going to close up. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then, same thing you're saying, and then the fucking stock market happened, crashes, or whatever, and he's like, fuck, dude, he gets kind of in debt with that, and then it's oh, I got a kid on the way, and you're saying, now I got 9 kids. So eventually we build to the big moment. It takes a while, but I think it's worth it because, again, it is just that thing where all of that time is spent painting a portrait of a man and also making you give a fuck about the man. And at this point, forgetful uncle just straight up is gonna deposit $8,000 to their bank account or whatever, and just fucking absentmindedly hands it over to Daddy Warbucks.
Yeah, when he tells
Yeah.
George, It's like the best acting I've seen from Jimmy Stewart, probably. But like I know he doesn't say this, but in my mind, all I can picture is him holding him by the lapels and going, "You stupid son of a bitch." You stupid son of a bitch. Like I don't like my last read on that. But like it's so I'm like, oh no, this is the only time I've believably seen someone in a movie
lose their shit,
be so angry that they're gonna kill somebody. It's great.
Because he's like this is serious. This is like prison time serious. You understand that we have to find this money. With they retrace the steps, they walk around the bank, they this, that, and the other. They cannot find the money anywhere. And the auditor or whatever is there, like the guy who goes to the bank and is like, okay, just want to make sure you got all your money.
Also, around here somewhere, we cut to Uncle's house, and Uncle has like a squirrel and like iguanas and just like a bunch of exotic animals in his house.
Yeah, because at the shop there's like a crow that like squawks whenever someone comes in and stuff. So
yes, I looked it up because it was really confusing me. It was in the script but didn't make it into the movie. But that's just one of his pets is that crow, and it's only in the movie because the director worked with that crow a couple movies ago and just really liked the crow, so it's in all of his movies.
Wow,
it's also funny. The crow on the Scarecrow in Wizard of Oz.
Nice. Good crow actor. You know.
Also, his name is Jimmy.
Probably one of the best Jimmy the crow. Probably one of the best crow actors of all time. And so basically what happens is they got no hope of finding that cash, and the next morning, Christmas Day or whatever, or that night or whatever it is, he basically has to tell the auditor like, yeah, I'm just out like the equivalent of today's money, like 80,000+, right? And he tries getting a hold of a rich friend he has in Europe, but that rich friend in Europe is unreachable. And, he's got nobody in town to turn to because nobody in town has that kind of money except for Daddy Warbucks. So he goes to Daddy Warbucks and he pleads, but Daddy Warbucks is like, A little while ago, he has a friend in New York that's a woman that comes and asks for money, and he gives some money to her. And he's like, oh, you were missing like $80,000. I hear you're giving money to women and stuff like that, prostitution, embezzlement. I'm going to call the police at once, kind of a thing. Like, total dick move on Daddy Warbucks' part.
I do. It's good. It's a good bad guy move, I guess. God, I'm so sorry. I'm so inarticulate and dumb-brained.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Season. But it's such an ice cold move for Daddy Warbucks.
You're as cold as ice.
To go, okay, yeah, I'll give you a dog shit loan that'll take you the rest of your stupid fucking life.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's like, okay, I'll loan it to you. What kind of collateral can you give me? He's like, I got my life insurance policy is like, how much you paid into it? It's like $150. He's like, you want me to give you an $8,000 loan on a collateral of $150?
Yeah, and he's like, please, you gotta help me. You gotta help me. And Daddy Warbucks is like, I'm just kidding. Fuck you. I wasn't gonna give you anything at all. I'm calling the cops on you.
And so then, George is just depressed. He goes home and he's just a dick to his family. He yells at his daughter for like practicing the piano because he's like, shut the fuck up and stuff. And he's like just smashing stuff in front of everybody.
Yeah, I love that he walks in sopping wet, no coat, no hat. They're like, where's your coat? He goes, left it at the office.
Yeah.
Like, did you walk here? He goes, left my car at the office or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, a touch that I love. This shitty old house that they bought and then remodeled.
Yeah.
And now they're living with their 11 kids.
Yeah.
Every time he walks up the stairs, they don't always make a big deal out of it, but the thing on the stairs comes off.
Yeah.
And
so it's such an easy fix.
And I think, if I remember correctly, that's the thing that sets him off finally in the scene, and that's what gets him to leave.
Yeah.
So good.
He fucks off. He goes down to Nick's or whatever, right? Or what is it? Is it Nick's?
No, it's Martini's.
Martini's. It's Nick's in the future that he doesn't exist in or whatever. Not the future, but I guess the present that he doesn't exist in.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Let me write it.
But Martini's, he goes in and they're like, hey, George, oh my God, I'm my favorite man in the world. And then earlier he was yelling on the phone at like his like kid's teacher, and then the kid's teacher wife's husband got on the phone and yelled at him. So then he's at the bar and he says like, he's like, your name's George? And he's like, yeah. He's like, George Bailey? And he's like, he punches him out and he's like, that's what you said to my wife on the phone. And then, the guys that own the bar are like, get the fuck out of here. You're never coming back at this. My best friend George. And they kick that guy out. It's great. Love it.
And they say, Mamma Mia, George, what was that all about?
Did they really say Mamma Mia, George? What was that all about?
No.
Anyways, long story short, I can't remember exactly how things happened. He drunk drives. He smashed into a tree a little bit, but he doesn't hurt himself. But like the big fat old effeminate angel comes. Oh, because he's on the bridge. He's about to jump. Which is also the setup for a Twilight Zone episode. Ooh. The Devil's Printer. Burgess Meredith is in it. Burgess Meredith plays the devil. There's a guy who owns like a newspaper company. It's getting put out by a big chain, and he's about to jump off a bridge while he's drunk or whatever. And then Burgess Meredith is like, say, you got a light. And he's like, yeah. He's like, you know how to type? And he's like, I'm the best damn typist. He's like, because I really need a typist or else this big company's going to put me out of business. He's like, oh, you need a typist, do you? Sign right here. And he unknowingly makes a deal with the devil. And the deal is that, like, whatever the devil writes in the newspaper happens. And then he finds that out. And it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Can't the devil just do that, though?
Do what?
Couldn't the devil just go get a job? Wouldn't that be easier than tricking this guy and making him sign a
But
contract?
he likes fun stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
he likes the fun stuff.
That's his whole thing.
His whole thing. He's a trickster. So anyways, so the angel jumps in, and then George, like he saved his brother, saves the angel. The angel gives him the what for in terms of like, yeah, I saved you by having you save me and stuff. And he doesn't believe him, and he's like, why don't you just show me a world where I don't exist in? And the angel's like, if you want it. And then we spend what do you got?
I think a great decision to make while, like, when they get out of the water.
Yeah.
And he's telling him he's an angel and stuff like that. And just, classic Doctor Who.
Yeah.
He's just talking like an angel, saying things that he thinks is normal. Everyone's
Sure.
like, what the heck is
Let
going
the
on
guy
with this
falling
guy?
in his chair in the back, is that what you're saying?
Yes. I think it was really smart to be like, you know what? Let's just put a third guy in this.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be here to push anything along.
Sure.
But to help,
Yeah.
We can't have Jimmy Stewart just going, what, for 2 minutes?
Yeah.
So let's just, like, put that guy back there to make faces and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I love that. I thought it was great.
Yeah, and Jimmy Stewart most of the time is like, right, an angel, yeah. Well, how come you haven't got any wings? He's like, I haven't earned my wings yet. And he's like, oh, yeah, of course. I forgot about that part of being an angel, of course, I do like that. But so it reminds me a bit of, it's not the same thing, but it reminds me of another bit of like old-timey humor in The Invisible Man. The Invisible Man is like, covered head to toe. He's wrapped up and he's wearing a big jacket and it's winter and he's got goggles on. And he pays for a week of a room in an inn in like just a rural village. And like no room service, don't come in, kind of he locks himself in there. Because he's up in the room and he's trying to like figure out how to make himself visible again, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's up there. And one of the innkeepers is very nosy, and she keeps like trying to sneak in there. And one day she does get like a peek, and so she starts screaming, and getting the constable and stuff, and everybody's all in a tizzy and stuff like that. And it's funny, like everybody goes in, the constable gets a peek at what's going on, the whole invisible thing, and everybody's like in the inn, like just kind of freaking out and stuff. And he's like, all right. The constable goes, he's invisible. That's what the matter with him is, or something like that. It's just like he says it so matter of fact, like he's seen it before.
Fucking funny.
Crazy funny. But anyways,
not a big deal. Definitely not worth interrupting the podcast.
Okay.
But from where I'm sitting,
Yeah.
my bug against those stickers, it says boner.
Nice. That's pretty good. Anyways, he runs around and he's just like, hey, martinis. Remember when I was just in here and I got punched out and you guys saved me? And then like the guy who owns it, who the fuck does he sound like?
He sounds identical to George Costanza.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's like, all right. Let's go ahead and let's just keep it quiet in here, all right?
It's crazy.
Jerry, come on. It's
nuts.
It's nuts. Yeah.
Like, it was great because it was one of those things where I'm watching it and I'm like, who does this guy sound like?
Yeah.
Why does this guy fucking sound familiar to me? And I perfectly, as soon as I was like, he sounds like, either you or Will went, he sounds like George Costanza. And all three of us went, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's very funny. I actually like this part. It reminds me of Back to the Future Part 2. It's just like everything is just a sleazy, shittier version of it. Of like the reality he came from. Obviously, moral of the story is like, he thinks he's thrown his life away because he didn't get to do what he wanted to do, which was travel the world and stuff like that. But the angel is showing him that like, no, like you have done good in life. You have a place in this world, and like things are better because of you. You have value. You didn't waste your life. Like all these people that care about you, right? Like I think what the angel leaves the note at the end in the copy of Tom Sawyer that says something like, a man who has friends is no failure or something like that.
Yeah.
Very sweet, very much so. Brought a tear to my eye at the end of the movie, but we'll get there when we get there. You have something?
I do like when he's running through Daddy Warbucksville.
Yeah.
The new place that he built.
Yeah, he's running through fucking Biffville or whatever, Bifftown.
Bifftown.
Because in Back to the Future Part 2,
Oh,
Biff
yeah,
renames
yeah.
it to like Biff City or something.
Biff City.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Running through Biff City, and to show that it's like a place that's gone downhill. It's like, a bunch of big buildings and neon signs.
And girls, and bars.
Like, it's not even like girls. It's like bar.
Yeah.
Music.
Yeah.
Drugstore, but a neon sign. It's just like, it's like a city. It's like a downtown city.
Yeah.
But it's 1940, so it's like a newly built neon-filled version of a city that we always see as a shitty place,
Yeah.
like nowadays, you know?
Yeah.
But it's brand new, so he's running through this place horrified, and I think all three of us were like, this place looks awesome. I'd
Yeah.
love to be here.
Yes. Caveat to it, though, I was saying that, like, I can put myself in the shoes of, like, if you were making that movie now, all of those people would be, like, yuppies with, like, Lady Jane haircuts that just got off of their Quicken Loans job, and they're trying to spend their money at, like, the New Way Lounge or whatever in, like, Ferndale or something. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, it's like a heavily gentrified place.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, to us, it seems cool because it's like, yeah, tuxedos and neons. But if you or I tried to have a conversation with those guys, they'd be like, yeah, you queer? Get out of here before I fucking shove my fist down your throat, you fucking... You know what I mean? Like, it would not be cool. They're not cool guys.
I was literally born in a tent because my parents lived there because that was normal in 1900.
Yeah, now I got money and I want to fuck a broad. Get out of here. You know what I mean? Like, that's what those guys would be like.
Yeah. I remember... the thing I hated the most about Mad Men when I watched 4 seasons of it, begrudgingly, I don't know if you've ever done that. Don't do that. I do that all the time. I'll like angrily watch 4 seasons of a show and be like, it doesn't get good. But I always hated about the Mad Men.
Yeah.
Is when I was like, yeah, but it's the 60s, remember?
Yeah.
Like they get up from a picnic and then they just take their blanket and like dump all their trash onto the grass and then leave. And it's like, I don't get it because it's the 60s. But the only one that really like got me, and it wasn't even like trying to like rub it in my face, was it they do like a flashback of our main character as a kid, and it's like the fucking Dust Bowl. And I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, is this why are they like Revolutionary War soldiers? What's happening? And I was like, oh right, a guy who's an adult in 1960. Yeah, his parents were probably born in like 1880. That's crazy. Yeah.
No, it's genuinely like a really, really fucking weird thing to think about is like anybody that we know, even as like a celebrity, like Walt Disney and shit like that, like they grew up in like this movie, 1902 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So like we think of them as like these like cigarette smoking 60s suave men, but no, like most of them literally were Tom Sawyer in it up for the first fucking 18 years of their life. They were, you know, not going to school and painting fences because their parents needed the money because the Dust Bowl just swept through whatever, you know.
I remember seeing one of those memes somewhere, the Victorian child memes, or someone was like, this part of Lord of the Rings would kill a Victorian child, and someone was like, well, J.R.R. Tolkien was born in whenever, so technically he was a Victorian child.
No, I mean it's interesting, like you know, like I can't remember the exact year, but like my grandpa's grandpa, he always talks about how he knew him. I think I've told this story in the podcast before. He was born in like 1880 something.
Crazy.
And he was like, he's like, I can remember until he died, he would always like pull me aside and be like, don't let them ever tell you they put no man on the moon or whatever.
Love that.
It's so funny.
It's my favorite. I think that might be my favorite thing I've heard a man say.
Yeah, but so what even funnier than that to me is like this story. I'm not going to capture the magic right, but my grandpa was talking about how he was like, when I was a kid, I could never understand why, but my mom never wanted me to ride with him into town, but I always wanted to. And he's like, now that I think back to it, he had such bad eyesight, dude. He was all over the fucking road. And you know what I'm saying, like he was just fucking whipping it into town like crazy mode, crazy taxi style. And that's just so funny for my grandpa to be like, yeah, when I was a kid I couldn't understand why my mom didn't want me to, but he's like, but now I look back on it, I'm like, this man's in 2 lanes, you know.
Also the idea of being so old by the time cars come out, for sure someone had to just go, it's a mechanical horse. And
you didn't even need a license until like the 30s or something.
And so like just being that old and having no idea, I'm sure most people didn't, but especially like just like not being able to have the mental capacity anymore to understand that this thing can be more dangerous than a horse. Like
I said, I mean, you know, like I listened to a murder podcast the other day about like these two, I told you about it, they were like 2 like 18-year-old 20-year-old kids in like Chicago that were affluent and supposedly geniuses, and like one of them had finished school at like 13 and was already in college and was like getting their master's even though they were only 18. But they lived in Chicago in like 1920, early 20s. And part of their like murder scheme involved like renting a car. And at the time, it was still like years before licenses would be a thing, years before IDs would be a thing, years before, you know, the Social Security card would be a thing. So I think like licenses happened in like 28 or something, and like Social Security cards happened in like 34 or 36 because I'm pretty sure it was an FDR thing. But anyways, this like the deal for getting a rental car in the fucking 20s was you had to know 3 people who could vouch for you.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, like the way that this kid got a car, because he was like basically lying and saying he was someone else. He was like, I'm in town on business. They were like, who are your, references? And he was like, listen, I only know one guy in the city. Is that enough? And the guy was like, all right, fine. Give me the one guy. So then he had his other buddy just be like, yeah, this is George Bailey. I can vouch for him or whatever. And then they got the rental car. So anyway, so in this movie,
His brother died.
Yeah. His brother died because he wasn't there to save him in the, when it was lake time. And just all these awful things happened, right? And so by the end of it, point proven, right? He's like, okay, I get your point, Mr. Angel. He comes back, and he's definitely going to prison for the whole not having the money thing, but he doesn't give a fuck. Everybody that he sees, he's like, I love you, I love you, I love you. Oh my God, I've never been happier to be back. And he shows up, and the cops are there, and like the auctioneer
thing on the stairs.
Yeah, and the auditor guy is there, and he's like, all right, get ready, because you're about to get sized for some striped pajamas, buddy.
We're sending you to prison in 3.
Yeah, I know. And then the door
1.
swings open, and everybody in town just has this wicker basket of dollar bills, because they're like, we just went around, we heard you were in some trouble, so we're gonna help you out because you're such a nice guy and you helped us out when we needed help. And
they didn't even tell me what it is. I just came right over.
And I just teared up, and then some guy comes in and he's like, I just got a telegram from Europe, and the rich man says that whatever it is, he'll quadruple it, and again, it's just it's just a culmination of
A Wonderful Life.
It is, yeah. But it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know. It's such a poetic way of displaying, because that's never necessarily going to happen in your life. No, everybody that that you've had an effect on is not going to come into a room with a big basket of money and say like, wow, you were so important to me. But it is like a great way of conveying that idea of we've talked about this before. I've gone on about it many times. I have a headcanon of oh, I think Nick's so smart and funny and stuff like that. Yeah. And but we don't go around saying those things to each other, right? Mm-hmm. We keep that big box of money in our head. So it's just a really makes me cry to see it happen in a movie, because it's it's just someone dumping out their money box, in their head, their little head money wicker basket.
It's great. It's beautiful.
It's great. It's wonderful, truly, and it deserves an A+.
It does. I think I might be making this up, but I want to say that there's a callback joke here. I love when the stock market crashes and they're all in there trying to get their money back, and he's like, I have $2,000 on my person. I can give you guys whatever money you need to get through the week. And that guy's one guy's like, I've got $247 in here, and blah 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 blah. He goes, come on, Rick, what do you need? He goes, $247. He goes, just what do you need right now to get you through the week? He goes, $247. And he's like, fine, here's $247. I could be wrong, but I think at the end when that guy comes back, he goes, here's $247.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, great. I'm also thinking of a Family Guy joke. Is there a joke where the stock market crash happens because someone bumps the graph and it flips around, or alternatively they just try to cover up the crash by flipping the graph around, something like that.
Something like that.
Who knows?
Probably, yeah.
Anyways, that's A Wonderful Life. That's a wrap. And we already did the thing we do at the end earlier. The thing where we pick our next week's movies or whatever. So you got any closing statements, arguments, anything you want to put on the record before we close up shop for the year? This is the last episode of 2023.
That's a great point. Sorry, I fell asleep for a second. No, I got nothing.
No? All right. Well, Happy New Year. I think it was a good year for the podcast. I think it was a good year for both of us. Hope it was a good year for you. And I hope next year's even better for you, me, the podcast, everybody listening. So
likewise.
Sign off, why don't you?
Oh, no, no. I know the year with you with the big bad one. It's the triumphant return, the last one of the year.
Perfect.
That's that match.
If you need more soup, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or go to our website, eatingsoupalone.com. And until next time,